I'm Ron Strickland. This webcast is one of a series in which I'm presenting some brief lectures and commentaries on topics from the courses I teach in literature and cultural studies. This particular episode is one of a group on John Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost. And here I'll be saying some things about Book 4, in which the reader first meets Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Milton begins Book 4 by interrupting his narrative for an apostrophe. The apostrophe is a conventional element of the epic in which the poet interrupts his narrative to call on the gods to intervene. Here, Milton bemoans the absence of some sort of divine messenger or prophet, someone like St. John the Divine in the book of Revelations, who could have foretold what would happen, who could have warned Adam and Eve of the trouble that was about to befall them. I'll read a few lines from the beginning of Book 4, in which Satan reveals his true character, his inner thoughts, as he prepares his assault on Adam and Eve. As he enters the new creation, he sees the newly created sun, and he pauses to curse its brilliance. O thou, he says, O thou that with surpassing glory crowned look'st from thy sole dominion like the God of this new world, at whose sight all the stars hide their diminished heads. To thee I call, but with no friendly voice, and add thy name, O sun, to tell thee how I hate thy beams, that bring to my remembrance from what state I fell, how glorious once above thy sphere, till pride and worse ambition threw me down, warring in heaven against heaven's matchless king. Oh, had his powerful destiny ordained me some inferior angel, I had stood then happy. No unbounded hope had raised ambition. Yet why not? Some other power as great might have aspired, and me, though mean, drawn to his part. But other powers as great fell not, but stand unshaken, from within or from without, to all temptations armed. Hadst thou the same free will and power to stand? Thou hadst. Whom hast thou then, or what, to accuse, but heaven's free love dealt equally to all? Be then his love accursed, since love or hate to me alike it deals eternal woe. Nay, cursed be thou, since against his thy will chose freely what it now so justly rues. Me miserable, which way shall I fly? Infinite wrath and infinite despair. Which way I fly is hell, myself am hell. And in the lowest deep a lower deep still threatening to devour me opens wide, to which the hell I suffer seems a heaven. You remember I showed you that brief video of the medieval morality play Mankind with the comical devil or demon who speaks directly to the audience. This is a stock character, this devil from the medieval morality play, and also Milton is drawing on that dramatic tradition in these lines. So farewell hope, and with hope farewell fear, farewell remorse. All good to me is lost. Evil, be thou my good. Satan is the exact opposite. The more brave he is, the more courageous he is, the more heroic he is, the more evil he is, because all of his efforts are directed against God. If he were to repent briefly, he says, it would be temporary. Then he knows that he couldn't sustain it, and his next fall would be even deeper. So he's not even going to try to repent. So there's the apostrophe calling out for aid, a warning voice. Then Satan approaches paradise to find Adam and Eve, and when he first sees them, he expresses some psychological conflict. Maybe that's unexpected, that even Satan has this much tenderness and sympathy when he sees these beautiful creatures, and he realizes how he's going to destroy them, to what ruin he's going to bring them, and how terrible it will be. But it doesn't last long. And so he enters and surveys the Garden of Eden. He disguises himself in the shapes of different animals. And critics will point out that Milton is now showing us Satan in the descending order of magnificence or prominence or being, First, he is a fallen angel, and he's, of course, the most magnificent of all the fallen demon angels. But then he has to disguise himself as a cherub, as a lowly, low-level angel, in order to get past Uriel, to get to the Garden of Eden. And then when he gets to the Garden of Eden, he doesn't approach as he is, as the prince of demons, as Lucifer. He approaches by disguising himself first as one animal and then as another animal, from lions to tigers and eventually to a toad, and in book 9 as a serpent. So he overhears Adam and Eve talking, and it just happens that Adam is describing his love for Eve, and Eve is describing her first moments of consciousness when she first met Adam and what she felt and experienced. Then Adam and Eve will go to sleep in the evening, and the angel Ithuriel will discover Satan disguised as a toad in the garden. He discovers Satan at Eve's ear, whispering to her while she's asleep. Now, that doesn't sound quite fair for him to come whispering in her ear while she's asleep, but he does. And Ithuriel and Gabriel and other angels confront Satan. They exchange insults, and before they have a fight, Satan leaves, so Adam and Eve are saved for the moment. But then, if we skip over to book 5 opens with Adam and Eve waking up, and Adam has slept peacefully and well, but Eve appears to have been restless during the night. And she tells Adam that she's had a bad dream. She's had a kind of a nightmare. She explains that she had this dream in which she hears a voice and she follows it to the tree of knowledge, the forbidden tree. And there, a creature who looks like an angel takes a fruit from the tree and eats it. And the angel tells Eve that she could be like the gods if she ate this. But before she can try it, he vanishes and she returns to sleep. Adam is disturbed also when he hears this story, but he assures her or reassures her that having a nightmare is not necessarily the same thing as committing a sin. Dreaming about eating this forbidden fruit is not the same thing as doing it. And it's not necessarily a prediction of what will happen in the future, because she still has the faculty of reason, he says, to control her actions. So that comforts her, and they return to their activity. And their activity every day is gardening. They take care of the garden. Any questions about all of that? I'll just say, you might reasonably have the question, how could you have a nightmare in the Garden of Eden, in a place that's perfect? In order to have a nightmare, it would presume that there has to be an experience of evil in order to have something in your unconscious to drag up the frightening dream. And Milton doesn't have really quite an answer for this. His answer is simply that, well, Satan is whispering in her ear, and that's where the nightmare seems to come from. But then you have to ask, why wasn't she better guarded? She's minding her own business. She's just gone to sleep. She hasn't done anything. And somehow Satan gets into the garden and goes whispering into her ear. Not a good deal for Eve. And we'll come back to that. With that, I'll conclude this webcast. But, as always, if you have questions or comments, please don't hesitate to send me an email.